We are making Swedish meatballs. Here's our ingredients. Got my packet of mince. I've got breadcrumbs. This is an ideal way to use up the end bits of the bread that you don't really use. You simply put it in a food processor and blitz it into breadcrumbs. We've got eggs to bind our meatballs together, a little bit of butter and flour to make our sauce, as well as a stock cube, and then we've got some salt and pepper for seasoning. Got lemon juice for the sauce, as well as mustard. And then we have capers, which aren't everyone's thing, so they are optional. And instead of capers, you could also use gherkins. So here goes. Meatballs, we're going to add our mince to the bowl. Then we're going to add the breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs aren't strictly necessary, but it's a cheap way to add a bit of bulk and make your meal go a little bit further. We're going to crack an egg in there to bind it all together. If you're not very confident at cracking eggs, you might want to do this separately in a cup. Add a bit of seasoning. I'm going to add some pepper, pinch of salt, and a couple of mixed herbs. And then you can start off with a fork or a spoon, but the best way to make meatballs is to get your fingers in there. And make sure it's evenly mixed together. So then when your meatball mixture is smooth and you can't really see the breadcrumbs anymore and the egg is mixed in well, you're ready to form your meatballs. So you take a pinch of your mixture and form it into a meatball about golf ball size. Roll it between your palms so that you get a nice smooth surface. So something that looks a little bit like that. Try to make sure they're all more or less the same size. Okay, let's fry our meatballs. So you're going to add a little bit of butter to your pan, or a tablespoon of oil. Make sure your butter evenly covers the bottom of your pan, and then you gently place the meatballs into your frying pan. If you're a bit concerned doing this by hand, you could also use a spoon. And you want to fry these on a medium heat. After frying them for a minute or two, you want to use a spoon to gently turn them over. Now once they're browning on the other side, good time to prepare your stock. You need a measuring jug, pop your stock cube in there, and add 300 milliliter boiling water. We'll give this a little stir to help the stock cube dissolve, and then we're just going to leave it on the side until we need it. Try turn them to brown them a little bit more where they're still really red. And then you're going to pour your stock into the frying pan. Make sure nothing's left behind, which often happens when you use a cube. At this stage you can add your teaspoon of capers. Add your 2 teaspoons of mustard. And you want to let this simmer for about 10 minutes until your meatballs are cooked through. You can then use a slotted spoon to carefully remove them and set them aside, because next we're going to thicken the sauce. Now we're going to pour our sauce very carefully back into the measuring jug, which you might want to do over the sink if you're scared of spilling. And then we're going to add some butter to our pan and let that melt on medium heat. And when your butter is more or less melted, you're going to mix in your flour to make this a paste. And this mixture of butter and flour, let me just show you, which looks a little bit just like a lumpy dough, is what we call a roux. And this is going to thicken our sauce, because now we're going to gradually, bit by bit, add our liquid back in. And we're going to keep on whisking quite vigorously to make sure all the bits of the roux get mixed in. Get it to the boil. All the while stirring really vigorously, and make sure you stir the whole pan, not just one little part of it. And as soon as it starts bubbling like this, you can turn your heat off, because now your sauce is thickened and is done. Then you can pour your sauce into a serving container or into your container to take home. And then add 1 or 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, according to taste. Carefully put your meatballs back in the sauce. And there we have it, Swedish meatballs, or meatballs in a mustard lemon sauce made with a roux.